Next track is Kevin's track number 1. I didn't mention on the other ones we're not gonna do moderation all day on our own. We have some help from volunteers. So track 1, you're gonna have Mikey and Justin as co-moderators on your tracks. So thank you, volunteers. Thank you to the other ones on the other tracks too. I just forgot to mention you.
Yeah. I've kind of taken over the screen again. I hope that's okay.
Sure, no problem.
First of all, bear with me, everybody. I just want to first of all cover the website experience before handing back over the screen again, etc. Because obviously, when everyone goes over to this site, they want to figure out what sessions to attend and get a bit more information. And it's quite easy enough to do. Just jump onto our schedule here, which, as I've put in the chat, is actually, I would say, in your local time zone, but it's actually in the time zone set on your device. So for most of us, that obviously is our local time zone. So there's no need to get confused about the times. It will be in the time of whatever your device is set to. So if you want to view the contents of a session, just click on one. Do the framing. You will sometimes get this green background come up, but all you have to do is just scroll down. And then eventually you'll get to the description of the session, okay? So I still wanted to cover that. So anyway, Magnus, you've got all the sessions on the images, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll hand it back over to you then. I just wanted to go through that for everybody.
So you're starting with John Peter.
I am indeed. This is quite an interesting track for some people as well, especially if you're interested in DevOps and automation, because it turns out we've got a few of those sessions in track 1 this time round. And in fact, I did the maths yesterday, and between the speakers and moderators, there's actually 6 open source contributors involved in this track tomorrow. And the first person up, who's first speaker presenting, is Jan indeed, and he's going to be covering the Power BI CLI, which is going to be very useful for those of you who want to automate your work with Power BI. And as some of you know, Jan is quite well known for doing his own community contributions towards Power BI as well over the years.
He has a great custom visual of a couple of them, actually. He has contributed to the store, which you can download in Power BI.
Indeed. Cool. And he is one of our open source contributors. And another open source contributor is Jess. Now, as a lot of you probably know, Jess is a major contributor to DBA tools. And tomorrow, Jess will be covering how you can actually monitor your SQL servers on your estate using DBA checks, and then how to, after it's identifying the issues, potentially fix them using DBA tools. So again, this is going to be a really good session for anybody out there who's a DBA or DBA stroke SQL Server engineer looking to resolve issues across a large number of SQL servers. So definitely a good one to watch out.
I think if anyone listening to this is still kind of a ClickOps DBA, you should tune into this session, because you're going to be impressed with what she's going to show, I'm sure.
So next is Marlos. She's going to be talking, as you can see out there, about what every application developer should know about SQL Server. So in this session, I think the intention is to give a lot of developers out there a bit of a reality check about things to do to make sure that whatever you develop works well with SQL Server. And again, it is a really good session to attend if you don't want your DBAs knocking on your door.
True. That would be me.
Yep. And next up is Craig, who is going to cover the ETL for, sorry, I just had to make sure I got it right there. Craig is going to cover how you can translate your homemade ETL solutions into more polished automated solutions using tools like Power Automate and Azure Functions as well. And this is going to be a really useful one to go to if you have your own manual ETL processes in place at the moment. So I do really recommend doing it. And again, Craig is yet another open source contributor as well.
Yep.
There's a familiar face. After then, as Sander said, I'm sorry if I'm laughing, everybody. However, as some of you already know, I actually co-present a session with Sander as well. So Sander tomorrow is presenting a session about T-SQL-T. For those of you who are interested in working with DevOps and especially CI/CD deployment pipelines, this is definitely a session I recommend you go and watch. He is going to be covering using T-SQL-T for unit testing in quite a lot of details. I'm assuming at this moment in time that there may be some Azure DevOps or GitHub Actions discussed as well during this session. However, I've seen this myself, and I highly recommend watching it.
Cool.
Next up is Kendra Little, who I think doesn't really need an introduction that much to the majority of you. Obviously, Kendra is very well known in the SQL Server and indeed the whole data platform community. She is doing a session tomorrow about the introduction to Git. If you are, like Magnus was talking about earlier, a DBA working very much in a click and manual processes still, or even if you've just started looking to automate or work in a DevOps related way, this will be a very, very good session to watch. I can tell you now, version control is a big thing. And if you look at the trends of how all the companies are working at the moment, everybody's looking to work in a more DevOps related kind of way. So again, this is another session I do highly recommend you going to watch, especially if you're looking to start using Git yourself at the moment. It will help clear a lot of things up for you. And also, before we go to the next speaker, I did notice in this session previously that Kendra will be talking about Flyway as well, which is a very interesting open source solution you might want to look into using if you're working with SQL Server databases.
Yeah, and it's fun because all the Linux kids I worked with, they're using it, and they've talked about it like it's a thing that everyone knows. They don't even need to give an introduction. So I'll just sneak into this one and learn what it is.
It's very interesting.
And thank you, Kendra, for coming in to Data Weekend with very short notice. She replaced another speaker, and we're super grateful for that.
Definitely. So the next step is Deborah, who's going to be talking about SQL notebooks in Azure Data Studio for absolute beginners, but also for people that have been using it for a while as well. As some of you may know, SQL notebooks is becoming used more and more at the moment, especially in applications like Azure Data Studio. And this session even, sorry everyone, before you slip there. This session is going to be a very interesting walkthrough for a lot of you. I've just seen a question come up about the sessions being recorded. Who wants to answer this, or are you going to leave it for me? No, the sessions will be actually live tomorrow. We have made that very conscious choice in the whole organization team. We much want everyone to take part and for it to be a live experience. In addition to that, as you can imagine, with the large numbers of sessions that we are doing tomorrow, we would have to spend a large amount of time going through editing and hosting those sessions somewhere. For an event which is absolutely completely free for the whole community with 0 sponsors, I'm afraid that's part of the reason why we've decided not to record them.
Yeah.
Any of the team want to add to that as well?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay, so yeah.
Who's last on your session or on your track then?
Mine is Drew. There is a lot of excitement about this session tomorrow, and Drew is indeed the last of the open source contributors. He will be doing a session in track 1. For those of you who do not know, Drew actually works for the Azure Data Studio team in Microsoft, and his session tomorrow is about how you can create your own Azure Data Studios extensions. It's a very interesting topic. It's one that's caused a very large amount of excitement with a lot of people. I know there are some other speakers who have already started doing this, who have already told me they're actually probably going to attend this session just to make sure they're on track with everything. So if you are keen on Azure Data Studio and you're thinking to yourself, maybe you want to create an extension like the ones that you can already get in there, like the one to do with database projects that's been released recently, or to do with any of the other open source solutions like DBA tools, etc., then this is most definitely a session for you. And I think it will give you an interesting insight into how the Azure Data Studio team themselves actually work on doing their releases.
Mm-hmm.
And that is it for track 1, everybody.
Cool. So which one do you think will draw the most attention to it in your track?
It's going to be a tough call, to be honest, because all of the speakers in track 1 I think are really good, and they have really good sessions, and they all have their strengths, especially in all the various technical areas they'll be covering. You know, for example, Jan's one, there are a lot of people that want to use the CLI more for automation. Obviously, then you've got all the DBA tools contributors presenting tomorrow as well in their unique areas, which everyone's going to be interested to watch. I know already, as I just mentioned just now, there is a lot of excitement about Drew's session in the evening. Well, in the evening for me anyway. Obviously, it depends where you're watching this in the world, because a lot of people are looking to do their own customized Azure Data Studio extensions. So the bottom line is I can't pick one single one. They are all got their strengths in their own right.